Hello, folks. Hello, it is me, the Gothic storyteller, filmmaker, writer, content creator on YouTube. Oh my god, it feels kind of weird now saying that. Yeah, I've gotten so used to promoting myself on other platforms, and I'm still getting used to YouTube. Happy Monday. Your Mondays are all over, hopefully for the majority. I don't know about the West Coasters. I think you guys still have a couple more hours left to work. Um, but hello. I hope you guys had a good day. Um, oh, I probably sound distant because this whole damn time that I am preparing myself to chat with you, I just realized I don't have my mic centered or any of this. I'm sitting here like a jackass, and you know what? Like, streamer issues. I do apologize. Here we go. So hopefully you guys should actually hear me a little bit better. I don't think you guys are actually hearing me though. Are you? No, my mic's in. Okay, I didn't have the meters up enough in time. um I'm all like, I was like, can they hear me? I hope so. I know we had a power outage earlier, but yeah, the mic is picking up. But today is going to be a very, very short stream, folks. I just need to let you guys know that today is going to be a very, very short stream. Uh, Mostly because I have been last minute invited um to another stream and everything. It's not film related and everything, and on a totally different platform. Um, but yeah. Um, I I wanted to let's see if, ooh, God, that's bright. There we go. Um, but yeah. I figured, you know what, I can do a really, really good kind of like just cut and run. I had to cut a few categories out today's show last minute because I don't really kind of get invited to do these things all too much. Um, but yeah, first first thing on the docket. Um, Today was, I don't want to say it's like an amazing day. It was a good day. It was a really, really good day. I woke up early. I got all my chores done, and in last minute preparation, I ended up rewriting the introduction to one of my new videos that will come out April 1st. A few lucky people actually got to see the introduction that I cut today. I was not meaning to just go into full blown edit mode, but I did. But either way, I think I actually found my knack for how to do my list videos. It just took me 3 episodes to kind of find my rhythm, figure out like, okay, how do I do this without people comparing me to Watch Mojo? Because I got a lot of friends that said, "Oh, it feels like Watch Mojo." And I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of like the inspiration for it." But I've been trying to figure out other ways of like how to implement this without feeling like I'm ripping these people off. I've looked at other content creators, and I've even looked at myself of like a base of, all right, what can I do to differentiate myself from this? Well, like, if you break down the whole structure of everything to the bare bones, it's like, okay, this is it. But a lot of people, regardless, are going to compare you to this because that's the channel that is famous for its list. And I will not be a list channel. We will have list videos. We're going to have, believe it or not, a whole lot this year. I have next year all scheduled out to a certain degree, and I definitely dramatically uh, pulled back quite a lot of the lists that I will be making this year. But mostly that's because this year it's part of an overarching series. So I'm not just making lists just to make lists. There is a point to all this, and that kind of goes back to me rewriting my introduction because I was like, why am I having such a tough time writing about this decade? This is like one of my favorite decades to begin with cinema, and I kind of just is like, you know what, this is just a point for me to just look back at what I did, look back at the last 3 months, the videos I've done, and reference that, and then let's just go from there. And I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the recording. It didn't really feel quite too much like work. Usually I always know for me, when I do this, as much as I love being creative on YouTube, work is work at the end of the day. Writing, editing, sometimes I don't want to be here to do it, but I definitely know if I stick with it, if I stay consistent, I am going to be rewarded with some fantastic stories from my community. about whatever movie I'm connecting. And to me, I kind of feel like that's my greatest reward outside of me kind of falling back in love with editing and falling back in love with writing. Um, One of the things I did not sit there and think I was going to enjoy so much are the stories you guys tell me. You know, if I had this one film and you guys are all telling me about oh, I saw that as like a kid, absolutely terrified me. Like this was I have yet to meet someone that said this was the crown jewel of my childhood. I have yet to find anyone that said that, but it was the fact that I felt like I just snatched a little memory from their childhood, and it's all like it was like a collection. It's like I presented you this video, and now in payment, I have your nostalgia coin, or whatever. And it actually feels kind of good that I'm able to sit there and remind people of better times. Like that actually feels a little bit better. One of the big things I do want to mention to you guys, uh, before we start jumping into our film discussions real quick, because again, I have very little time here. We're probably just going to be going to 6:30 today. But right here, I dropped it about an hour ago. Yes, an hour ago on YouTube and everything. We are having an all month long sale starting March 1st. It's going to be for the entirety of March, 30% off everything in the shop. We have the Gothic with the Wind tee over there listed for 25, the Gothic sweatshirt listed for 45. I know it's kind of towards the end of winter for some folks, but hey, you know what? Those poor New Yorkers and everything that are like getting that extra blizzard, like, you guys could go for one of these. Who knows? Maybe the snow will continue on through March. And then we actually have an old community curations t-shirt that I've actually had quite a few in my own community purchase those and everything, and they've sent me pictures of them sporting it and everything. But everything must go because after March, I am emptying out the merch shop, and we're gonna go through a rebranding. So I figured, you know what, we're gonna do one last big sale, probably for the year and everything. Depending on how much we make from here, and then just where I'm at financially. We should be back and running with the merch shop by October. I really, really want to sit there and have a good collection for you guys for October. And so I'm all like, you know what? After March, close the shop down for uh, about 6 months and everything, and then reopen it and everything with some new stuff. So this all is going to start March 1st. Remember that. It's not today or this month. It's March 1st. It'll be this coming Sunday. When the sale goes, I will do my best to stay up. Maybe Saturday night at midnight, just to be that person. Be like, look here, I dropped the sale there at midnight. So anyone around the world, it's available for you guys. You guys can sit there, get 30% off my merch. I do sell more than just the tees and everything and sweatshirts. I do actually have mugs and stickers as well. So if you just want a coffee mug, if you don't have enough coffee mugs polluting your kitchen, then go grab a coffee mug. That's it that we're gonna need with the image slideshow today and everything. But what we're gonna get into right here is, so I'm gonna figure out how the hell I'm gonna sit there and do this, because I'm using like one monitor for two screens, but I have essentially logged in 16 films this month. Some of these films we actually had previously covered last week, like The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb and Velvet Goldmine, and there was another one, The Company of Wolves. We did like a kind of like a brief cover view of those. So I am going to kind of go through and jump around this month and everything. Some of the stuff, if you guys are wondering what I'm writing and doing videos about, practically you can just go to my Letterboxd. I practically leave a very huge breadcrumb trail right there for you guys to follow. But of course, the beginning of the month, because we did the Charlie Chaplin thing, we watched The Kid and the Immigrant. So we're going to jump over here to some Gothic films that I've actually been watching. And one of the ones that actually really, really surprised me right here. Oh, I actually thought it was going to sit there and it was going to take me to the actual channel. But Gothic right here. So next yeah, next week's new video and everything, Gothic is going to be on the docket and everything. If you're really looking for something that tries to be like a pseudo historical piece of fiction, but is not really meta, but it it does its own to bend a little bit of the truth to where you get a very, very engaging narrative that even to me at the end of it, I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch? I just I don't know and everything, but Gothic is actually one of them. Uh, um, Julian Sands does a wonderful performance as uh Percy B. Shelley, and like when I watched this, I just kind of felt bad because all it made me sit there and think of was just how he left this world. Um, I've kind of like noticed this year. I've been watching a lot of Julian Sands early work, so like Warlock and Gothic. There's another film I could have swore I watched that. Oh, The Doctor and the Devils. I watched that and everything. I was like, wow, Julian was such an amazing talent. I got so used to seeing him and Stephen King's Rose Red. That's kind of been predominantly the one piece of media of his that I've known that I've seen him do. But Gothic is like another one of those outstanding performances that he does. If you kind of want to look at what was the origin of quite a bit of Gothic literature, from like the actual stories to poems and everything, this is like a very twisted nightmare surrealism type of film that takes the night that the Shelleys visited Lord Byron on the shores of Lake Geneva, um, to swap stories and essentially come up with a contest in which like we're gonna write like a horror story together. It does really, really well. um I it's been a while since I recorded the video, so I've already forgotten how to say Miriam's last name, but I know it's not Psy and everything. But the actress who plays Claire Claremont in here, she does a wonderful, wonderful performance as Mary Shelley's sister-in-law. Um, for one, she takes like way too much abuse from Gabriel Burns as Lord Byron. I kind of feel like she's like his punching bag, but there are like moments that like it feels like she has the upper hand on him and he's not the one in total control. Um, Gabriel Burns' character, Lord Byron, like he definitely plays a dude that's very all up in his hype and his mystique. And I'm just like I was like, wow, this man really does believe that he is this great grand whatever, like, that he's he's untouchable. He's ethereal, whatever kind of weirdness that Lord Byron is. um Gabriel Byrne does wonderful. Timothy Spall, believe it or not, this guy you guy may know from like the Harry Potter films, and like the Sweeney Todd movie and Alice in Wonderland. I had no clue that he was in this film, and like just looking over here, I'm surprised. Pale Blue Eye, I do vaguely remember him in there, but I'm surprised he was a Chicken Run, The King's Speech, Vanilla Sky, Enchanted. Well, he was in this film Gothic, and he actually does really, really good. Um he plays the Dr. Polidori, who is the author of The Vampires, supposedly. So like there are like some of these characters outside of the sister-in-law and everything, but like some of these characters, like if you've heard of their famous works, like this is a film essentially all about them. um I would not say it's historically accurate, but if you want to sit there and see something that's in a somewhat historically accurate setting and just watch these people just trip on opium, um which we don't really see them do that. We don't really sit there and see them trip on opium, but it's supposed to be kind of more hinted that they were all drugged. Gothic, it's a really, really fine film. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. I probably should have maybe given it a 3.5, but I think it's a wonderful piece of film that you guys should see. Another one that I enjoyed was The Hunger with Catherine Denouvel. Denouvel. I apologize if I butcher. I do believe she's a French actress. It's her, David Bowie, and Susan Sarandon. It's a new twist on the vampire genre. Very much tied to Egyptian mythology, but we don't really get too much information on how those two connect. All that we sit there and note is that these two vampires, David Bowie and Catherine, um, they use ankhs. They're like these little ceremonial ankhs that when they pull it, it's like a blade, and they stab and kill their victims and drink their blood that way. So it's not like a traditional like, oh, they have sharp teeth and bite into. It's like, no, they look very much human, but they are immortal. Catherine's immortal. David Bowie kind of learns that with him being turned into a vampire, he is promised eternal life, but not eternal youth. And that's kind of the driving force of the conflict that ends up leading Catherine to Susan Sarandon. That once David Bowie is pretty much just like a dried up husk of a zombie, or like a mummy vampire and everything. She starts going out there and courting Susan Sarandon, and yeah, the film, to me, I think was actually really, really good. I think it was better in Gothic. It's a very interesting vampire film. I think you'll have fun with it, especially if you're all into the goth culture. This film opens up with Bauhaus singing Bela Lugosi's Dead. So I don't know how you could get any more goth music wise, and I guess fashion wise in this film. Like this is a really cool film. It doesn't really try to sit there and fully explain scientifically the vampire, infection or anything like that. Like they let you know that like when Susan Sarandon is bitten and she goes to get blood tests done to her, that there is something in her and it's battling her. So perhaps there could have been kind of like in Near Dark where maybe some type of blood transfusion probably could have saved her from becoming a vampire. But I'll let you figure out if she survives this picture or not. It's a really good one. My review for this was Sexy Vampires and David Bowie. Need I say more? That's the God's honest truth. Need I say more? The Woman in Black. So this is the original one. This is the original Woman in Black, not the I was gonna say Shia LaBeouf, not Shia LaBeouf. Daniel Radcliffe, not the Daniel Radcliffe one, but this is the original. And it scared me. It really did. It lured me into this very bleak, very British world. Sorry for the Brits listening, but very British world in which it inhabits. And it's not one of those horror films like kind of like today, or maybe you could kind of technically say in the 80s where they were doing just jump scares galore. But this wasn't one that it just hit you with a jump scare every freaking waking second to the point that you're just either exhausted or annoyed. But The Woman in Black definitely gives you a really interesting gothic mystery. And you're trying to put these pieces together just as much as the main character. And then when you kind of start hitting those last 30 minutes of the film, that's when the real horror kind of starts gut punching you. There's already kind of been like certain moments that like get you and you're just like unsettled, but you're not really, I would say, terrified. You're just unsettled, and you're kind of like, I don't trust this filmmaker. What is he going to show us? This is building up pretty good. What is he going to show us? And yeah, the jump scare in which it's delivered, and then even the very bleak ending that gets you, it's a punch. It's a gut punch because it has you so fascinated in the mystery that when the actual horror jumps up. And I really like slow burn horror films like this. Like, to me, I think this film is one of the perfect ones that does slow burn very, very well. Another one that I would add actually came out 9 years prior to this, called The Changeling, with George C. Scott and directed by Peter Medic. And that one was a nice slow burn that gave you a really good, interesting mystery. I would sit there see that there were probably a little bit more jump scares in that one than there is in The Woman in Black, but it's more of how The Changeling kind of goes through its pacing in the film of we have a very tragic figure, who a person who has lost everything technically in his life, and now he's trying to pick up the pieces and move on. Um, and then he kind of settles into this unsettling place. Weird stuff starts happening. He feels like he's being communicated by something in the house and everything, and then it starts building up from seance to weird dreams and everything. I absolutely really adore the Changeling, and I think like the 80s when it came to ghost stories really kind of started the year and then ended, or started the decade and ended the decade with like at least one really really good slow burn ghost story. So good job, good job. I enjoy it. Our next one would be The Doctors and the Devils, which does have Julian Sands in it, but in a, again, in like in a supporting role. This was before he started getting his lead. But this one has Timothy Dalton in the lead with Jonathan Price, and Stephen Ray, as like kind of like the titular Burke and Hare. It's a very fictitious take on the Burke and Hare case and everything. Um, I feel like this film could have been better, could have been a little bit more frightening. It definitely hit the nail on the dot when it came to frightening people, because the character of Fallon and Broom and everything are very real people and very terrifying to know that, oh, we have this job now that all we have to do is bring fresh corpses to this doctor, and we'll get paid. And the doctors kind of complain that they need fresher corpses, and so Fallon and Broom start killing people and bringing their bodies to them, very much like what Burke and Hare did. And it's very much frightening. It's terrifying, but the rest of the narrative, it's a very, I guess I could say now, even like after I've already recorded this video and it comes out next week, I kind of feel like it's a bit of a bland British horror. Like, it gives you everything that what you want, but it doesn't really try to add anything new. It doesn't try to reinvent anything. Usually, yeah, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But I feel like this film needed something more. Timothy Dalton holds a really, really good, impressive role, but I feel like his character kind of gets lost in the muddiness of Price and Ray's performances, which again, they're wonderful. This is the only film that I've seen Twiggy, the British actress Twiggy, and I think she was also a musician. First time I think I ever watched anything Twiggy was in. Oh, apparently I watched her in Body Bags and The Devils. I no clue. She was in Blues Brothers. Did not know that she was in those movies, because I don't know who really she was. But I saw her do the Muppet Show, and I was like, oh, she's cool. I really dig her. But yeah. Oh, she's a dame too. Okay, so I did not know that. So yeah, now I need to go back to some of these other films and like actually really check out Twiggy's performance. I think she plays it okay, prostitute in the film, but yeah. Um, we're gonna skip ahead because I'm looking at the time here. Eyes of Fire. I I need to watch it one more time because I didn't even leave an actual rating for this. But if you love folklore, horror, and everything, this is definitely a film for you. It's like 1750. An adulterous priest gets ejected from a small British colony here in the American frontier, and so him and his people and his wife, along with this one witch, who are all being casted out, they have to find a new home. And the film definitely kind of has more of the like, well, the witch is here, and it kind of feels like the adulterous preacher is kind of trying to just throw blame on her without really actually taking any responsibility from himself. So it kind of feels like at like the first half of this, after exile and then chasing this witch, that it feels like it's practically, oh, like burn the witch, or we need to get rid of this witch, even though this witch knows where she's taking us to a supposed safe location. They don't trust her, and they push her off farther enough to the point that it's like they don't want her help. They don't want her there. They believe that they can survive on their own, until like the natives start going after them and start killing them. Kind of doesn't really sit there and paint the natives in a good light, because like for one, it's more of like there wasn't really anything that they did other than just trespass on land, and so it's like immediate death, which I kind of get that. It's kind of just to push the people towards where they need to be in the story. Have natives attack them, not really the best, but for looking at it strictly as entertainment purposes, I get what it's trying to do. And then like the second half, when you kind of get into these very unsettling woods that not even the Native Americans or the indigenous people would actually go into, because they kind of know that it's like cursed or whatever, you definitely get a lot of folk horror thrown at you. There's like a cat demon child. There's I think like an evil wicked tree or whatever. There's a whole bunch of stuff that essentially the witch is needed to help the frontier people. And yeah, like this whole film, they're like over here, it's like, we don't need your help, like you're the cause of all this, da 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 da. In the end, the witch is the one that comes and saves them. I really need to rewatch this because again, I just, it's up in the air. It's up in the air, really. That's all that I can really sit there and say. It's up in the air. We're gonna skip ahead towards a couple of days ago, before we cover kind of like our main topic. We're probably gonna go a little bit over time, but I'm pretty sure my the people won't mind if I'm a little bit late. Hammer Films. So the next Hammer movie that I am covering, or franchise, is the Hammer Mummy movies. I absolutely love this poster. I think this is a very wonderful, very well done poster. Like the whole tree sticking out of the mummy's head, kind of how it looks like a hill. I really wish that posters looked this great again, especially hand drawn. But the Mummy Shroud is an okay Hammer film. I did mention last week that I really enjoyed Curse from the Mummy's Tomb. And kind of how funny that one person on the comments for the werewolf video had to say, it was like, oh, it's like too sad that like they didn't do a Curse of the Mummy or something like that. And I was like, oh, they did Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, so it's close enough of what you're gonna get. But the Mummy Shroud was definitely a movie I did not enjoy, but there were some actually really good moments to this. It follows like usual mummy lore. People dug up a mummy. They're looking for artifacts for a museum or for a personal collection. The natives are all like, you've desecrated this land, excuse me. You've desecrated our land. You're gonna die for it and everything through this curse. And so it kind of it very much it follows that whole formula that Hammer knows doesn't fail. It kind of does with this, but there are some very good positives that I actually really enjoy about this, and I actually cannot wait to make this video. It's going to be the next video that I'm going to be working on, but there are several instances of the story that they actually really do have something very interesting that I would like to have see someone else pick it up and try to run with it and see what, see kind of like the flaws of what Hammer did, but also the positives of what Hammer did for these concepts, and expand upon it, make it better and everything. And one of them is that for one, the main mummy isn't really royalty itself, but it's a guard. It guards this mummified prince and everything who died as a child. He was buried with the shroud, and so if you have the mummy shroud and you say the whatever, I don't want to say magical words. That sounds like I don't know. You say something in the old dead tongue language, I guess, because it's not even really Latin, I guess, but it's just the Egyptian language. I'm really stumbling on this one. I apologize. But if you say this, you can wake him up, but at the same time too, you can put him to sleep. It's more of a different way of how to control the mummy, other than just saying, oh, he follows my direct order. It's like, yeah, I doubt a dead Egyptian royalty guy is going to follow the order of some fucking, punk of all like, kill her or kill him. It's like, yeah, no. But this actually kind of has something with the shroud is actually the thing that commands, because it is tied to royalty, and this guard is swore to protect the body of the prince, the kid prince and everything. Um, and then of course when he's destroyed, when he destroys himself, when they command him to destroy himself while holding onto the shroud, there is this really gnarly moment where the mummy just grabs his head and just starts crushing his head in, and it's like chalk. Somehow the muscle and everything, like it's all just became chalk, and so you're seeing like this chalk and the dust fly up, and then you're seeing like the jawbone you know dislocate. It's a really gnarly into a mummy, and I was like, oh my god! Even though this is not a good film, I love this scene, and um, it kind of always reminds you there's never really anything like a bad movie, because there's always going to be something about this movie you're going to enjoy. And seeing that scene alone, I was like, bravo. Like I was immensely proud of that. I thought that was actually a very satisfying way to take care of a mummy. um I at least I think so, and everything. Wrapping up Hammer Talk with Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. Again, I did not actually add a review for this, but I did recently watch this. This is an adaptation of I know one of the reviewers are probably going to sit there and say this. Uh it's a Bram Stoker story. Um oh my god. Can I not find it? Okay, hold on. We may actually have to Google this. So it is based off of The Jewel of the Seven Star by Bram Stoker. So this is technically a Bram Stoker story. Has really kind of nothing to do with a mummy. Which is like, oh wow, where have I seen this before? And it makes me think of, Jason Goes to Hell, because they did everything to get rid of Jason for some reason. But this one actually does it really, really well. It kind of has some borrowed elements of other of the previous Mummy films, but this is the one that closes off the franchise, of like not really connected stories. They're all like their own little adventure, but I like to look at this as a franchise because, you know, it's all mummy movies and everything, and they kind of all follow a similar story pattern. But this one right here, Valerie Leone is breathtaking as Queen Tara and Margaret. I believe it's pronounced fuck. I think it's Fook or whatever. It's Fuchs. So I've been calling her Fucks, Professor Fucks. That's a totally different movie though. So, but yeah, like I've never read the Bram Stoker story. I've never read it, so I don't really know how very close to the actual source material that it actually is. But for what this film is, where essentially a father gives his daughter a birthday gift of like this beautiful jewel, and apparently she looks just like this queen, that her body is perfectly preserved and her hand has been severed. And this is something that's been actually brought up in the Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, where they believe that if you sever body parts of an evil person, then they are unable to be at full power, I guess, of whatever evil wickedness that they have. So they come back from that film, and they reborrow from this. There's no mummy here, except kind of, I guess you could consider one towards the end, maybe. But this film is solely based on the curse itself, and it does it really, really well, because at the same time it's like, all right, well, you don't have a mummy here, so what is going to be this external force? And what it is, it's when Tara starts taking over Margaret's body and everything because of the ring. She starts looking for these artifacts and everything that have been taken out of her tomb, that is supposed to help her regain her full power. And yeah, I think it's absolutely wonderful, wonderfully paced and everything. There's a scene in which there is one of the archaeologists that's like in like a madhouse and everything, and the guards there like definitely don't treat them very well. They definitely treat them like there's something to laugh at and mock. But with him, when the curse starts visiting him to take his idol away from him, and to essentially take his own take his life and everything. It's done so super well that it kind of reminds me a little bit of the uh it reminds me a little bit of the beginning sequence in the producer's cut of The Exorcist 3, where I think you actually get like a little bit more of the opening that kind of gives you more the idea that evil has come and it's kind of opened up the doors of the church and it's violated, you know, a member of the church and everything. It's just really, really well done and its camera tricks. And I cannot wait to cover the Mummy franchise with you guys. Well, not with you guys, but for you guys and everything next week. Like that's gonna be fun. It's gonna be so much fun. I cannot wait. We're gonna be covering the Mummy film from 1959 with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. Curse from the Mummy's Tomb in 64. 67, I believe, is the Mummy's Shroud, and 71 is Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. 3 out of 4 films really, really good. I would revisit them. I probably wouldn't revisit the Mummy's Shroud, except for me doing this video, because I want to sit there and actually see if there's a little bit more of it that I actually really enjoyed. Maybe there was just something I missed through the first watch, but like, I actually kind of think that this is probably Hammer's best franchise because it has more wins under its belt, I think, than it had any flops or losses and everything. But that is it for the Hammer talk. We are going to cover one last film. We're a little bit over time here, so I'm going to give myself less than 9 minutes to froth at the mouth for Godzilla 1998. So, controversial opinion here. I actually do think that this is a good movie. This is a really, really good monster movie. But it's not a Godzilla movie. It's far from that. This one has it where it's the French were testing nukes and everything, and so apparently he's like Godzilla is like an iguana and everything, and he turns into this giant monster. The French government kind of sends he kind of sends a like a squad of men to practically undo what they've done and everything, which was make this monster. But if you are a lover of giant monster movies and have your knowledge of this, you will kind of notice that this is not really a Godzilla remake. It uses the name to bring butts to seats, obviously, but in my review I wrote it plays more like a remake of The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms than the original Gojira. And it does, because if you've seen The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, there is bombings going on in Antarctica for I think they were just testing bombs in Antarctica, and they awoke in a creature that was slumbering, in hibernation there. And with it being awake, it's confused over the new world, and it starts traveling and makes its way over to, I think, San Francisco is where it makes itself to. And you wouldn't really sit there and see that this monster is a bad thing. It's just a creature that was thrown out of its natural habitat, thrown for one out of hibernation, and it's so confused because the world has moved on from it. And that's what I look at Godzilla 1998 is that, yeah, whatever they were doing in, I guess, Papua New Guinea or whatever it was where they were doing these nuclear tests, I don't think it made this monster. I think it woke it up. And so it started looking for a place to lay its eggs and everything. And I can't remember if there's apparently a time jump to when these tests, these nuclear tests went. It's kind of been a while, but yeah, like to me, I think it's a better Beast from 20,000 Fathoms film than anything. It runs around like a scared animal. It's just trying to live, and it's trying to cohabitate with humans. Sad thing is, it likes to step on humans and kind of eat humans outside of eating fish. It likes to eat that and everything. About halfway through the film, though, it kind of starts turning to like it wants to be Jurassic Park. It has a bit of messy pacing. The dialogue is cheesy. There's so many one-liners in this. It doesn't really feel like a Godzilla film whatsoever. lasting final notes, I actually really do enjoy that the mayor of New York City and I guess it's his aide are are Siskel and Ebert and everything. It's yeah. The Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin legit made Siskel and Ebert for their fucking movie. And I'm trying to see if I can find it. There was the governor, Ed Murray, Old Fisherman. I'm trying to find the guy, but they tried to like they call him Gene's mayor aide played by Laurie Goldman, and I'm trying to find. I think it's Harry Shearer. No, Michael Leonard as Mayor Ebert. Ebert and Gene. So Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert. Yeah. I don't know what I need to go look up now the review for Godzilla 98 from Siskel and Ebert. I need to sit there and know. Um were they in on this? Like, do they laugh at the joke? Do they think it's funny? Like, I think it's funny as an adult. As a kid, I didn't know who these men were, so um I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the joke not until I was much much older. And I think even then, whenever I brought that up, I think my buddy Steven mentioned, I was like, yeah, no, like, isn't that the film where like Roger Ebert's the mayor and Gene Siskel's like his aide, and it's like what? And yeah, so I rewatched it, I saw that, and I was like, oh, I think Steven's on to something. But we are going to get ready to wrap up, folks. Again, if you missed the beginning of the stream with the introduction, I am going to sit there and do this plug one more time. We are having all month long, starting in March 1st. We're having 30% off everything in the merch shop: mugs, tees, sweatshirts, stickers, everything. It all must go. By the once March is over and April starts, the entire merch shop will be closed down temporarily for hopefully 6 months, and we can get it back open with some new merch, brand new, related to the YouTube channel. Yeah, we'll have that all out there and everything. Thank you guys again for being here. I know I felt like I feel like I ran a marathon here without no water. I had it here. But I will see you guys next week. I don't know what we're gonna sit there and talk about next week. Hopefully, I will try to figure it out during the week. I'll try to sit there and at least try to get at least 2 weeks mapped out for these streams and everything. But you guys can catch me Monday nights at 6 p.m. Through 7 p.m. Sometimes I'll go past 7 and everything, but today it's got to be a short one because I am needed elsewhere and everything. But I also just didn't want to cancel stream. I love talking to movies and rambling in your ear. Hopefully you learn something, or maybe you don't agree with my views on these certain films. Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. I love to sit there and read. I like to hear other people's opinions about the films that I talk about, the films that I love, and the new films that I get to sit there and try out, because my friends are all like, you need to see this movie. I watched it. You're gonna love it. I believe it or not, I think 9 times out of 10, chances are I actually love the film that they recommend for me. But I'll catch you guys all later. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you guys all on Monday. Bye.